So I bet you didn't know that Oliver Stone, director of Platoon, JFK and Talk Radio, once wrote and directed a pretty wild and wacky horror movie that's played absolutely straight and serious, a Severed Hand movie. So The Hand from 1981 stars none other than Michael Caine as a cartoonist who's the creator of a Conan or Mandrake style comic strip. Hopefully that's a accurate enough appraisal of his work. I mean, I know about as much about comics as Mr. Futterman from Gremlins does. Anyway, he's living life high on the hog. He's got the wife, he's got the daughter, the sprawling country house, the successful syndicated comic strip. But one day he gets into an argument with the wife over whether they should live where they are, which is awesome, or in a shoebox apartment in Manhattan. So apparently the wife wants to live there for restaurants and excitement and all that stuff, which sort of brings up a good point. Everyone in this movie seems especially shallow and self-absorbed, including Michael Caine. It's that kind of movie. Hard to sympathise with any of the characters. But anyway, she gets distracted and they get into an especially gruesome car accident where his right hand, his cartoon hand, his favoured hand, pops off at the wrist and goes flying off into a paddock, never to be seen again. Or is it never seen again? So the wife nurses him back to health for about 3 seconds and then she leaves for New York with his daughter while Michael Caine moves to the country to take a teaching job because, of course, he can no longer draw Mandrake or Conan style comic strips. But pretty soon the disembodied hand seemingly returns to wreak vengeance on everyone who Michael Caine feels has ever wronged him or even mildly offended him. It's that kind of movie. So that is the premise of The Hand, directed by Oliver Stone and written by Oliver Stone, no less. I know it probably sounds as generic and derivative as hell, but somehow it does manage to transcend a pretty familiar premise to become elevated into something fairly special and unique. Michael Caine's pretty amazing in this one. If you thought he chewed up the scenery in Jaws the Revenge, he truly kicks it up a notch for The Hand. Interestingly, this one was, as I said, written and directed by Oliver Stone, none other than Oliver Stone, but it's never really referenced by him or anyone else, and I can't really understand why. Maybe he's ashamed of it. I've got no idea, because it's a pretty amazing movie, in my opinion. It has this whole kind of sleazy, unwholesome vibe, almost like a gothic horror movie meets an angry loner movie with a dash of early 80s grindhouse sleaze, which is a recipe for brilliance, in my opinion. It'd actually make a cool double bill with some of the early Brian De Palma stuff, like maybe Sisters. And a lot of the hand scenes are great. They're clearly influenced, they did clearly influence movies like Evil Dead 2 and House. You can see where those movies have been influenced by The Hand. So really this one is the ultimate severed limb movie, in my opinion. It's really one of those grimy, unwholesome movies that is horror lightning in a bottle. Pretty hard to replicate. It'll make you feel traumatised, uncomfortable, and in need of a good shower afterwards. Purely because you aren't expecting such a grimy and sleazy tone from something you'd assume would be a pedestrian paint-by-the-numbers, EC style, severed, malevolent limb movie. So The Hand, starring Michael Caine, directed by Oliver Stone, surprisingly unique and satisfying if you look past a fairly generic premise. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be the typical EC horror comic, concert pianist losing a hand and the hand coming back for revenge against everyone, but it does dig a little deeper than that with those grimy fingernails and sort of has a bit of a twist that you may or may not see coming. But certainly one of Oliver Stone's best. In my opinion, it is his second best movie after Talk Radio, which is high praise indeed. And Certainly one of the best Michael Caine movies. As I said, Michael Caine chews up the scenery in every scene of this film. None of the characters are especially sympathetic, which is interesting and quite compelling. And as I said, the hand is a little deeper than you would expect for such a fairly generic sounding premise. There is quite a lot going on, quite a lot to love about this movie. A lot of very sleazy, unsympathetic characters, which is cool. And it does sort of end somewhere quite different to where you think it's going to. I can't say a great deal more about that, just in case you haven't seen it. A little difficult to track this one down. Your best place to catch it's probably on Tubi or somewhere like that. One of those obscure rarities that isn't really seen terribly often and is referenced even more rarely. It's kind of slipped through the cracks, but exactly the kind of movie that we like to talk about here on Fulci Metal Jacket. So thanks for joining me for this look at Oliver Stone's The Hand. Little obscure severed limb horror movie. Quite a sleazy example of this subgenre. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure you like, share and subscribe. And let us know in the comments if you've seen The Hand, what are your thoughts on The Hand, what some of your favourite severed limb horror movies are. I mean, there's The Hand, there's Body Parts, there's House, there's Evil Dead 2. Quite a few more than you'd expect. So let us know which are your favourites out of those. And otherwise, I'm off to enjoy the rest of my evening. Take it easy.